Hey everybody, how you doing? George Anderson here with a very special guest today, Adam Tango Holland, and looking very tangoed and orange as well. And I want to get into some of the kind of the why you're called Tango in a little while, Adam. But first of all, thanks for coming on to the interview today. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
No, it's great. We've known each other for a while, and I was just before we came on air trying to work out like when we first met, and you reminded me that you did actually do some pacing for me probably about 6 years ago up at the Robin Hood,
It
Nottingham.
might be longer than that.
Maybe even more than 6 years ago. In fact, 6 years probably was the 10 and 10 that I did, the 10 back-to-back marathons.
I
Um,
remember the kit not doing very well for me. The flag fell out
really?
in the
Oh, the
park.
flag. Yeah, we had all sorts of problems with the flags, didn't we, that year? They kept falling out. People were running, holding onto them. So it's a bit of a nightmare. But look, I've kind of followed some of your progress over the years as well, and there's a big thing that you and I both did at the same time, but we approached very differently, and that was the 10 and 10, 10 marathons, 10 days. So I started it, and I think 2 or 3 days later, you started yours as well. So I was really tracking your progress there. But you have an even bigger goal now coming up for 2020, which is it 20, well, 20 and 20, right? 2020, it's 20
Yeah,
marathons in 20 days. Is that
because,
pretty much the
yeah,
side limit?
because of the year as being 2020, that's where the idea came from.
Hmm.
And I believe there are now 3 official events in the UK doing 2020, and
That's crazy, isn't
it's
it?
not confirmed yet, but I reckon that the Italy one will also be a 2020.
So you obviously have to take time off work to do this, right? Like you have to go
Yeah.
somewhere, you have to be there the whole time, run a marathon. Is it the same loop every day, like
Uh,
one big loop, or is it different loops?
depends on it depends which event you go to. So Great Barrow, which is one of my favourites, is they've got 10 or they've got several 11, 12 different courses now,
Right.
and they'll mix it up. So you do different ones. They might do 4 of the courses over the 8 days, but each year it's been different. Italy is an out and back course, 2 laps. The Great Barrow, which is a charity one, that's a one single loop. The SVN, they have several different courses as well, and they can be quite hilly. A
Uh-huh.
couple of roads. And the one I'm doing next year, which is with Phoenix, is on the Thames Path, and that's completely flat, apart from I believe one small little bridge that I have to go over.
Right. Okay. Otherwise, it's completely flat.
That's
So,
why I want to try and
or
do the
sub
20
three.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, okay, so we've jumped well ahead here because this is,
yeah.
I'm just kind of my mind is blown thinking about doing 20 marathons in 20 days. Not just doing that, but doing it at the speed that you're doing it as well. And just for kind of context here, we talk about the 10 and 10, which I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, I think, when we did that. And was that your first 10 and 10? Or had you done
No,
one? You'd done one
that
before that?
was that was my third or fourth 10 in 10 at the
Right,
time.
okay. See, at the
I've
time,
now
like,
done 13.
I got into that and it was completely new. I mean, I just made my own thing up. So it was like there was no one else doing it with me. A few people doing various laps and so on and a couple of marathons. But otherwise it was just me doing it by myself. And then I kind of caught wind that you were doing it as well. And you were doing it in an actual organized event. And
Yes.
what I quickly realized was that rather than me kind of going around and I'm really proud of what I achieved, but I was running them in a sort of between 4 and 4.5 hours, and you were running them in like sub 3 hours. I think not all of them, but most of them were
I think
sub
the
three.
average was 3:05 for that one.
Yeah. Well, certainly many of them were under 3 hours because I can remember looking at
Yeah.
some of the times thinking, geez, how is this guy, how is this even
It's not even,
possible? Like, I've run
it
one.
wasn't even a flat course.
It wasn't a flat course. Um,
No,
and and now obviously tell me you've done several before that and you've done 14, did you say now? 10 and
13
10s,
now.
13, 10 and 10s. And now obviously we're looking at the 20 and 20. So it's just another level. Like I know that doing the 10 and 10 for me, a lot of people look at that and think, flipping heck, like how do you even do one marathon, let alone 10 and 10? No, I know that my approach really helped me to do that because I was in probably 3:15 marathon shape and I was running in 4:20, 4:30. So I was running well within myself. But then look at what you were doing, running sort of 2:50, 2:55s, and then getting up and doing that again the next day. Kind of my mind thinking, flipping heck, well, how are you doing that? Uh, how close to your potential, your best time is that to,
So,
compared to your best, basically?
so my best is 2:24:24.
Okay.
It was probably about 2:37 when I did those.
Okay.
My strategy is that I would do the. I don't know if you can hear my daughter in the
Yeah, I
background.
can. Yeah. Climbing in
Sorry
there.
about that.
That's okay.
I do the first half fast, so I aim for like a 1:15 to 1:20, and
Okay.
then I would do the second half between 1:25 1:30, which is almost kind of like a recovery run.
Okay.
But so I feel better.
So you do. That's
Sorry, I've got no
fine.
idea what's
Don't worry.
going on.
I was doing an interview the other day. My dog started barking halfway through at the door. So it's like, whatever. This is just, I want to get the content here. It doesn't matter what's going on.
She's probably been told she's not allowed to watch Hey Dougie or something like that.
Oh, hey, Dougie, that's big in our house too. Brilliant.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting that's your approach, to go hard for the first half and then to basically, running a 1:25 half marathon is not easy by most people's stretch of imagination, but comparatively, and this is the thing, it's about comparatively, it's obviously quite comfortable for you to do that second half in that time. And although percentage-wise it's closer to what you're capable of on the day, like if you're in a 2:37 shape and you're running 2:55s, that's a lot closer to your best compared with my 4:30 versus 3:15. But even so, doing it in that way, with that sort of faster first half, slower second half, did you find then that really helped with that recovery process and being able to get up the next day and just go again?
Well, physically and mentally, because physically I knew that I didn't use my whole energy up for one race.
Mm-hmm.
And mentally I knew I still had stuff in the tank for the next day.
Yeah.
But when I do one of them, I don't think about the next one. I think about the one I'm doing.
Yeah.
And if I want to go faster, I'll go faster. And I don't want to go slow because I know that I've got another one tomorrow. Because anything can happen between that point and the next day.
Yeah. No, totally. And it's a very different mindset as well, isn't it? When you know you've got the next one to do, but at the same time, you just got to focus on the one that you're doing now. And I had this big thing about, you've got to just run the race that you're running. You've got to run the mile that you're running, run the next footstep that you're running. You can't think too far ahead, because it's just kind of mind blowing to think about how much you have to do still to go. So interesting that you took that approach as well, or a similar approach. What were some of the other recovery strategies that you had after each of those runs, or what do you tend to do like immediately after finishing the run?
So the advice is usually have something to eat within 20 minutes of after finishing, and it's something that I struggle with, and I think a lot of people do. But I do tend to have something. I tend to crave like a fizzy drink as well, but at the same time, try not to have too much of that. Make sure I get water, but throughout the evening, not just in one go. So that's kind of my recovery. And once I've finished, I don't go and sit down. I'll walk around for a little bit. I'll go support the other runners. I'll cheer them in, so that way I'm not thinking about what I've got coming up. And mentally, I feel happy because I am cheering someone else who's also achieving something that's fantastic.
Yeah, that is definitely, the movement thing is a biggie. I found that to be tremendously helpful as well. The moment you sit down, I think anybody who's done any sort of race where they push themselves, regardless of what the distance is, you sit down, your whole body then seizes up. So to kind of keep moving. But what about things like stretching, ice baths, massage, those kind of things? Do you tend to do anything like that as well?
I don't. They have an ice bath, and I did try it, and it was too cold for me.
It's horrible, aren't they?
I couldn't do it. The stretching sort of stuff I don't tend to do. I don't, unless I feel something is really tight. I might try and ease it off. On a very rare occasion, I might get a massage, but again, it's not something, because I think personally, if you get used to having a massage and then you go out of a race and don't have one, your body is expecting that massage.
Okay.
So I'd rather feel my body being tired naturally, and then it'll be the same the next day, and hopefully I recover naturally, or that I have recovered naturally.
How much in say 10 back-to-back marathons do you find that it gets harder and harder to sustain that pace as the as the runs go on. Do you find that it kind of ramps up quite significantly, or is it fairly stable from run to run?
It's fairly stable. Each one's been slightly different. So like the latest one I've just done, on day one, I actually ended up running into a bin and bruising my hip. So I ended up running slightly slower for the next couple of days, and then got a little bit faster. 2 years ago, when I did the fastest ever 10 in 10, I started off at 2:54, and every day up till day 6, I got faster. And on day 6, I did 2:39.
2:39.
Yeah, on day 6, and
Wow.
each day got faster up to that point. And then after that, once I realised I actually broke the 2 in 2 record, the 3 in 3 record. I think mentally, once I realised I'd done that, I slowed down the following day, but it wasn't by much. I think I was in about 250 at that point. But
Okay.
then the following 2 days, I dropped the pace back down under that one.
Yeah. So you mentioned about kind of being the fastest ever 10 in 10. You've got a number of world records. Is that correct? Like with the 10 in 10, you said the 2 in 2, the 3 in 3. So kind of the fastest ever times over a ratified course to run that number of consecutive marathons.
So I used to have the Guinness record for the 10 in 10 back in 2009, which I took off Steve Edwards. Then I rebroke it in 2010. I think it was 2014 or maybe 13. Rick Verco took it off me. I beat that record, but I did it on a multi-terrain course, so I couldn't claim it. Right. I beat it at SVN, and then I struggled with Guinness to get that clarified because some of the courses were classed as 6-hour events, but I did the marathon distance.
Okay.
So I went out to Italy, did theirs, and I broke the record. And I've only just recently actually finished the paperwork, and I'm now within that 12 weeks waiting for that confirmed that I have the Guinness record back.
Oh, right. So you've lost it, and at the moment you're waiting to get it ratified and
averaging 2:45 is the time at which I'm waiting for them to confirm. Once they confirm that, then I'm going to apply for the 3 in 3 and 2 in 2 because it's the same information, just obviously a little bit less.
So the average for the 10 in 10, the 10 back-to-back marathons, one a day for 10 days, your average finish time was 2:45.
2:45, and I believe the average for the 3 in 3 was 2:41.
Wow, that's some impressive running. So that must be around 6:35 pace, something like that per mile.
I know it's
are you weird and working kilometers, minutes per kilometer?
No, I prefer miles because they don't come round as quick.
Yeah, that's why I like it as well. So I mean, there's some very impressive running there, athletic performances and so on. There's obviously not many people in the world who are capable of doing what you're capable of doing at the moment. And is this something that obviously it drives you? It's probably not. I'm imagining it's not just the accolades and the world records that you're chasing. What is it that running gives to you that kind of gets you out there and just doing it for the love of it, regardless of how fast or how many marathons you're doing?
There's so much it gives. I get to see all these wonderful people that are also achieving the same things. At the same time, I've raised money for different charities. I'm ambassador to Kids Run Free, which is a charity in the UK that help kids. Their goal is to do a marathon in a school year. And there's hundreds of kids that achieve that, which is amazing. At the same time, I get to see lots of amazing places that I would never have got to be able to see. And obviously, when I'm running, I get around them a lot quicker than if I was to walk around and have a look around.
So it's a big thing. It's a big part of your life. Has it always been a part of your life? Something that's been important to you?
Running has been a part of my life pretty much from primary, more or less, into secondary school. I started it because my friends did it, and then left school. I joined the local club when I was at college, and then it was my friend who the furthest I'd ever done was a half, and he turned around to me and said, "Do you want to come do this marathon?" And I just said, "Yeah, why not?" Straight away. And it was that weekend. And really? I remember, it was really tough. I think it was just over 3:30. Sorry, my time.
Okay.
I wasn't one of those that said never again, but I didn't do one for a little while, and I applied for London, didn't get in. managed to get a club place, and I wanted to prove that I deserved it. And I did 2:51, I think, on my second marathon.
Wow. Okay.
And I was 20 at the time, so I was one of the top young marathon runners. But they never pick it up. And there's a lot of younger athletes now doing marathons, and they're quick, but there's nothing there to help them progress.
Okay. So is that a failing in the system? Is that something that could and should be changed then, you think, to kind of take that talent that's there in the young sort of
Yes,
18, 19, 20-year-olds and to help really develop that into world-class athleticism?
Well, I see it as, they used to say you peak in your late 30s, but I think that was because a lot of people did it later in life.
Right.
And now I believe that there are more. I know when you're younger, your body's still developing, but when you're obviously getting into your 20s, you should be realizing what your body is capable of doing if you've done the right fitness and training for it.
So what would be the best thing to happen? I mean, take you, for example, what would have, you've done phenomenally well, but do you feel like if you've been given the right support, given the right coaching, given the right opportunities, that you could have made it onto kind of the world stage, Olympian, and so on? I mean, you've got a pretty hot single.
Yeah, it could have been a possibility, but there isn't that opportunity, I don't think. Well, but I don't hear much about road stuff, and I know that the vet stuff is now picking up for GB. Once you turn 35, you can represent GB for the marathon or the 24-hour events, but I don't hear anything between the gap of being quite young and when you get to the vet side.
Right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Really interesting.
That's my personal view, because obviously I'm not looking. But it might be out there. I just haven't seen it. Yeah.
And it's also interesting with things like the 10 and 10. The first time I came across something like this was through my friend Jerry Duffy, who did the Deca Ironman. So 10 back-to-back iron distance triathlons in 10 days. And I sort of looked at that, and that was quite an inspiration for me to do the 10 and 10 marathons. And as I said, the more I've been doing it, the more I've been immersed in it, the more I've seen that these events are kind of they're everywhere now. You'd already been doing them for a few years before I got into it. Is this something you've seen an increase in over the last 10 years, say, of more and more of these events, bringing up more people wanting to do what are really kind of quite crazy ultra endurance escapades like this?
It's become massive, absolutely massive. There's loads of people looking to do this sort of thing. That's why there are more and more 10 and 10s, more and more bigger challenge multi-day events.
Why do you think that is?
It's the thrill challenge. People want to self-achievement, because the marathon, it used to be London Marathon. You got in, you did that. That was the biggest thing ever. It's still a big thing. It's an amazing achievement just to do that. But there are people that want to do 100 marathons, 100 half marathons. And if you do them 10 in 10 days, it just brings that goal a little bit closer, a little quicker.
Yeah.
And that was the main reason I did the 10 in 10 in the first place, was because I wanted to get to the 100 marathon club.
And how many have you done now? What's your total?
444 marathon ultras.
So some are marathons, some are ultras.
Yeah.
And you win a fair few of those as well. Is that correct?
I think I'm on 263
wins.
Off the top of my head, I think that's right.
That's amazing. Look, tell me about Tango. Where did that come from? Because I've known you for how many years? I don't actually know why you've got Tango as your name.
It's a college name. So I'm climbing up a wall. I've just started, really, and I was up the top and no one knew my name. I was wearing my orange kit and someone shouted up Tango.
Right, that was just stuck from there.
And I like it, so.
Well, it's very kind of distinctive. And hey, look, just kind of as not really an aside, but it's something that that we just got chatting about before we came on air here, was your dyslexia, which is something else that has obviously been a big feature of your life for forever, I imagine. But like, how has that kind of formed you and perhaps driven you to achieving so much in the running world? How has it been a hindrance, and how has it been a help to you?
So, because of being dyslexic, sport was my go-to thing at school. and that's where I improved on and did more things sport-wise. That's why I struggled to get letters out to companies and ask for help, sending emails and stuff. But over the last couple of years, my wife actually writes. I write the blog or talk to my phone, and it writes it for me. And she will check it for me, and it'll go onto my social media, and that's why it looks more professional than it used to. I tend to get my present tense and past tense wrong when I talk to my phone. Like, I'm better now than I used to, and one of my learning ways that I've done myself is, I'm proud to say it because I don't care what people say now. I watch anime and I put subtitles on so that I'm automatically learning without learning, and I'm reading whilst I'm watching it. And I think that's made a massive difference since I've left school, because I've picked up so much I wouldn't have, because I'm trying to learn what they're saying to me on obviously the cartoon. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, you know, what I'm kind of seeing and what I've certainly got to know over the years is kind of who's someone who's incredibly determined and disciplined, and you know, dyslexia is something that can be seen as a something that holds you back. It's like, well, you've got dyslexia, therefore, you know, you're only going to be able to do these things, and this is out of your reach. But actually, to kind of take that and to use it to almost kind of fuel the running, to really throw yourself into the sport and the physical side, but also to look at it and think, well, actually, how can I work around this? How can I come up
outside the box?
Exactly. So there's that kind of that creativity, and you haven't just allowed it to be a label that has kind of said, well, this is your box, this is your limitations. You've found a way forward to kind of use it almost as your superpower.
Yeah. Well, from that, we were talking before, I've now been nominated for a blogging award.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I'm dyslexic, so I'm like over the moon to be. And it's a professional blog on national. What was it? I can't remember.
I think it's the National Running Show or the National Running Awards, if that's the one I'm thinking.
National Running Awards.
So, and actually on that, you know, what a great kind of place to move this on to from here is you've got a really good and very well maintained, and, you know, hats off to your wife for supporting you with this as well. But the Facebook page is fantastic. There's loads of really good content on there. And that's probably the place for people to go and follow you and your journey. What's the URL of that? I did get it up actually.
So my page is adamholland.uk. Plain and simple.
Okay. adamholland.uk, is that?
.uk, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. And we've also got facebook.com/Adam Tango Holland, all one word as well. So both really good resources for information and to follow you on your journey. And also people can vote and support you in the National Running Awards as well by hopping over and following the link and voting, saying,
and if they've got some free time, they can always have a look at my YouTube channel, same name.
Yeah.
And it's got different races I've done, so obviously people can have a look and see what it's like if they've never done that race. I've got stair climbing, cross country. What else? I've got loads of different bits, so feel free to have a nosy.
Well, look, mate, you've inspired me, and just to kind of finish off, going back to that 10 and 10 that I was doing when you were doing it at the same time. I was trying to do some blogs, some videos when I was running along, and I did a few of them, and I had kind of all sorts of trouble after the 9th and 10th into the 10th marathon with a torn quad. But actually around the 6th marathon, when I was starting to struggle a little bit, I referenced you in one of these videos. I think I told you before. I kind of referenced you, and I said, "Oh, you know, a friend of mine, Adams, he's doing 10 marathons in 10 days, and he's like averaging under 3 hours at the moment." And it was this moment where I was just, instead of comparing myself to you or what anybody else had done, it was 100% inspiration and taking the motivation and the positivity from it, and kind of looking at it thinking, like, you're doing your thing. I'm doing my thing. Like, what you're doing is amazing. I'm really proud of what I'm doing as well. And it just kind of really lifted me to know that you were doing it, but there was no sort of comparison there as well. I think that's one of the challenges that you may have come across as well with other runners, kind of looking at thinking, flipping heck, well, you know, can't relate to that. And you compare yourself to other people, and it can become almost Absolutely.
Yeah. You're
And I
your
think
own person.
you're your own person, and you're on your own journey, and you've got your own challenges, and kind of really owning that and seeing other people's achievements for the inspiration that they are, which is how kind of I've always looked at the things that you've been doing. It can only then pull you forwards rather than kind of pushing you away.
Too right.
Good stuff, mate. Well, look, thanks again for joining me today. Really good to catch up, and I'll make sure we get everybody over to the blog as well to support you in the National Running Awards.
Please do, vote. Thank you very much.
Cheers, buddy. Bye for now.